Welcome to episode 16 of the Decompression Chamber. Our opening quote is going to be from a Roman Stoic philosopher, something Seneca. I couldn't be asked to research it, but I got it off Reddit. But yeah, here's the quote. We suffer more in our imagination than in reality. Roll the intro.
Looks like into me, no doubt that I'll never be without my damn brain. Closed mouth, I'm clever and I know my damn shame. No cloud to the better, no one know my damn name. No bow, that shit what I guess we about to cascade.
Yeah, so the quote kind of speaks for itself. I kind of touched on it last episode. I made a little reference to it, but I guess it's just something I wanted to expand on. I feel like it's a kind of issue, or it's a thing that affects my life a lot. So yeah, I mean, I also, I guess, wanted to just discuss the idea of like self-care, because that as well has been prevalent in my life at the moment, and yeah, I've just been kind of thinking about it today a bit. Yeah, so I don't know. Just before I sat down and I did like my sound check and shit, I've just been thinking about the different kinds of self care that I have been trying to implement, and maybe need to do better to implement. For example, I just had a very nice Zoom conversation with a branch of my English side of my family that I haven't been doing a very good job of staying in contact with them, truthfully. It's not like I don't have the ability to. I'm on all the group chats. The stuff is right out there, but sometimes I get so wrapped up in my own mind that I don't do a very good job of keeping in contact with everyone in my life. It's not like I completely hermit up and don't reach out. It's just like there's so many people in my life that I want to be in contact with, and I only stay in contact to a good degree with like maybe like a fifth of them, you know. And I think part of that is, obviously everybody's in their own situation right now, and sometimes I don't feel like I want to burden someone with them having to divert their attention towards me, I guess. But also I think it's just like sometimes I just I don't give myself the space of mind to do it. I'm just like, I'm thinking about other shit, and you know, this I guess is me recognizing that I could do a better job, and you know, that's that. Because yeah, that's kind of a thing as well. I've been trying to be kinder to myself, just with my own internal monologue. I've been trying to not give myself kind of. Sometimes I will just have this part of my internal monologue that's unnecessary, where I put myself down, or I'm that's just not generous to myself in terms of like what I'm doing or what my intentions are, you know. So like, I think there are certain times in my life where I need to just not like put myself down for having done a certain thing a certain way, or maybe I see an opportunity to do something better. I think there are times where I can just do better at like having a more nurturing instinct towards myself, I guess. But I think a key aspect of that is like you still have to take responsibility for what you're doing, you know. I think a lot of the time I find that I give myself excuses, you know, like I will be lazy and procrastinate, and then I'll rationalize it saying, you know, at least I did this, or you know, at least I did my daily exercise or something like that, when in reality, like I should just accept one thing as a habit, and then accept that one thing needs to improve, you know. But yeah, I think I need to do that from like a more generous, nurturing perspective. Instead of like when I feel like I've wasted a day, or you know, had an opportunity to do a certain maybe creative endeavor, or like something for school where I haven't, you know, I don't need to put myself down for it and denigrate myself as a human, but neither can I absolve myself of responsibility. You know, I'm in charge of my own actions to a certain degree, and so I think you just have to recognize where your failings are without marking yourself down for them, which is kind of tough, because you have to have the like mental acuity to see a certain failure of your own doing, but then also you have to have the kind of emotional intelligence to you know, just find a way to package that way of thinking so that you kind of build yourself up as a person, and not just like chip away at your own self. Sometimes I think I do that too much. I'm like taking little chips out of my own, you know, mental stability, and it can weaken the foundations, you know. And so yeah, like sometimes self care takes form in reaching out to family who you haven't spoken to in a while, or maybe it's just like having a conversation with a friend that you haven't spoken to in a bit, or maybe it is just focusing on the habits that you can stay on top of and just being grateful that you can do that. Maybe it's treating yourself to a meal that you haven't cooked in a while. I'm not a great cook, but sometimes there's a certain kind of treat you like for yourself, or sometimes it's self-care is to practice a bit of delayed gratification. It's like, speaking from a personal perspective of privilege, I have lots of stuff to my access. I have, resources aplenty. So it's like sometimes, particularly with technology as well, like where everything's instant feedback, sometimes I need to practice a bit of, restraint and just like self-control and just appreciating what I have rather than constantly begging for more. Like for example, I'm kind of like a comfort eater, like, because I'm lucky enough to have a very good metabolism. It just means like I could eat like 6 bagels in a day and it won't affect how I look in the mirror like too much. But like at the same rate, it's not necessarily good for me if I eat 6 bagels in a day. So um, yeah, sometimes there's just ways that you can exert control over your life and hope that it benefits you. Um, yeah, and like I don't know, something that even like silly that I was thinking about was I when I was having a shower, like I was like, "Oh, my hair's getting long," and for some weird reason, like I find the experience of going to the barbers and getting my hair cut, like sometimes it makes me anxious, like unnecessarily so, like to the point where like I'm walking up to the barbers and I'm like thinking like, should I just not go to the barbers? And I'm like, it's just an irrational thought, but they pop up anyway. And then eventually, like, just kind of like the opening quote said, like, the anticipatory anxiety I have for getting my hair cut goes away as soon as, like, the person, like, I ask for what I want and the person starts snipping away. It's just one of those things where I recognize that as just, like, a place or a scenario where I'm anxious, and I don't think in that sense shying away from it is very good self-care, because I think that's something that I can just rationalize that I'm able to do it, and then I go through the experience. And then when I finally get my haircut and walk out, I'm like, yeah, that went completely normal and how you'd expect it to go. And that's just like a small microcosm of it, I guess. Like, for example, sometimes when I just like even small things like asking like a friend if you can go chill at their house or something, sometimes that would make me feel anxious, or yeah, just certain innocuous things. And sometimes self-care is recognizing where like there's something that makes you anxious, and you don't have to push yourself or like put yourself in a place where you're not comfortable, depending on the scenario. But sometimes you have to go out of your comfort zone and you have to push yourself to try and improve. I was trying to think of a good example of this earlier, but yeah, well, obviously the haircut thing that I just mentioned is like an experience where I can very easily just like rationalize, all right, this is just making you anxious, but you should just go through with it anyway. Whereas, for example, I don't know, say you're on summer holiday and a bunch of people are jumping off a rock into some water, and like you don't want to jump off the rock into water. Like if you're scared of heights, like I'm scared of heights, I hate it. I've done it sometimes. I even have a video of me jumping off a bridge saved on my phone just to prove that I can do it, but I hate it. So if it's one of those scenarios and you don't want to do it and you're scared of getting hurt, then you don't have to do it. Peer pressure is a real thing, and it can suck. But that's just I think you have to know where your boundaries are. Like this is something I kind of think about a lot. I find quite important, because I feel like if you're good at establishing your own boundaries and establishing boundaries with others, you can have much more like clarity and just stability in your interactions and your kind of comings and goings. At least that's the way I found. Like I often find that if I make it clear where my boundaries are in certain situations, then it's not very often that I'm forced out of them, unless it's particular extraneous circumstances, or at times I get confronted by why my boundaries are there for a certain reason. Sometimes it's like you have a boundary that's based on like an outdated way of thinking, or a way of thinking that might not serve you in a developing scenario. So you just have to, I think, recognize your shortcomings, but also celebrate what your forthcomings are, what you're good at, what's good about you, And like you have to remember as well that even if you have inadequacies, like those things don't invalidate you as a human. Like you and yourself have inherent value just for being you. And you have to understand that just trying to build on yourself and develop yourself as a person is all you can do. Like we're all flawed. We're all, trying to improve at just being us. So yeah, be kind to yourself, be generous to yourself, and be generous to others. Be kind to others. I mean, that's kind of a given, but I thought it would be a good final message anyway. But yeah, it's going to be the fights tonight. Conor McGregor's fight, and I'm excited for that. And I'm just glad to have shared this moment with you guys, even though it's just me and my laptop. In any case, see ya and have a good night.